Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Message 77 from the book Happy Life by Joana de Angelis, psychographed by Divaldo Franco. Today at least, put beauty in your eyes so you can see life through clear lenses. Get rid of negative impressions that you took to bed with you last night, and get ready to face the world and people with a measure of goodwill. You will note that your inner state will improve and everything will take on a pleasant life around you. Goodwill towards others comes back to you as friendliness and companionship from them. Face the new day ready to win and to conquer the space that the world has reserved for you.
Spiritism for Everyone is the live web study meeting and educational program of the United States Spiritist Council. This year, in commemoration of the 150th anniversary of the Gospel according to Spiritism, the Spiritism for Everyone program will present an in-depth study of this remarkable book. Join us every Wednesday evening through the web from any computer or mobile device, no matter where you are in the U.S. Spiritism for Everyone is free, open to all, and requires no registration. For more information, go to www.spiritist.us.
Traveling to another country? Immigrating elsewhere? Prepare yourself by reading the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, in which several loving and wise spirits wrote through the hands of Chico Xavier and Waldo Vieira, telling all of us the tips and hints of a successful transition to a new land. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Did you enjoy reading the classic story about Little Red Riding Hood? Then you'll love the Spiritist spin on this classic tale. The Big Bad Wolf, reincarnated by Rock Jacinto, is a great way to share new perspectives to your children about Spiritism and the law of action and reaction. Purchase your copy online at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Welcome to Spiritist Talks on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Today it's the first Saturday of the month. Happy Saturday, because we are dedicating to the I Honor My Parents campaign. This time is to empower the parents so they can be honored as well. So it's empowering them so they can find strength to be respected, to receive the reverence of their children. And we entitled, according to Mentor Joseph, we entitled this Educating Beyond the Words. And we'll see why. It's fascinating because we're seated here. We don't know for how long we'll be incarnated. Nobody knows. And we know the proposal of reincarnation is to better ourselves, to improve ourselves. But how can we change ourselves so much if sometimes we doubt we have a physical machine that allows transformation? Because I look at myself in the mirror and I see almost the same person every day, almost, because it's aging. And I see the same person. It's like, am I changing inside? How do I know? Like, for example, can we change so much like Paul? in the book. This year we're celebrating 70 years of this book. Can we change this much? Like Saul? It was a radical transformation. It took steps. When we read this book, it has 20 chapters. We're going to see that in part 1, he talks about a very strong-headed person, very determined, very faithful to the Mosaic law, and then suddenly, it seems sudden, but then Emmanuel shows that he was being cracked in his belief every time something got wrong in his goals. He was being frustrated. He wanted something, he didn't get it. He wanted something else, he didn't get it. And he was being like broken to his knees. And then he surrendered and changed. So transformation requires surrender to the new. There's no way for us to change being the same. It's funny to say this because it's like our home. I want a new home. I want a new house. But we don't want to change this chair. We don't want to change the podium. We don't want to change the screen. It's impossible to be new. We need to surrender everything, saying, okay, it's like those programs you see on TV. People are like, they are hoarders, and the therapist comes and says, I'm going to help you. No, don't throw this away. Don't throw that away. How do you want to be helped? You need to say, okay, I surrender, I let it go. He let it go. He surrendered. How? He was his age. He was not like a child. He was not a teenager. He was in his 30s. Young. But not that young for the time. A 30-year-old man at that time was like a 50-year-old man today, in a rough comparison. They didn't live that much back then, because life was rougher. So, 30-year-old men, for a 30-year-old man to change that much, it requires a lot. What about Gandhi? Gandhi was a lawyer. He was married, he had children, he was living in an unequal system, oppressed by the British. He also transformed radically. He was an angry man. He had anger fists all the time. And he changed to a non-violent man. But how? We ask, is it possible all these books in Spiritism, and not only in Spiritism, in other philosophies, they say, we are here to improve ourselves. We are here to change our lives. We are here to be better people. Question. How can we learn so much in one reincarnation? Do we have a physical machinery? Let's start from the physical. Do we have in our physical body the necessary tools for transformation? Because we look at ourselves in the mirror every day and it looks like the same. Can our bodies hold the capacity for transformation? Where is it? To understand how education happens, which is the acquisition of new habits, we needed to have a physical body that accommodates transformation. Where is it? We need to know. It's beyond belief. It's about facts. Nowadays, thanks to neuroscience and Spiritism as well, because Spiritism is one of the unique, whatever we call it, religion, philosophy, whatever it is, that brings science and religion and philosophy all together and explain it all. It's beyond just philosophy. It accommodates science. And it tells us something that is really in the same directions as science. In this book that we studied that the Spirit thought about, Revolution in Two Worlds, chapter 9, we learned something in 1958 that is becoming more well understood in science about the power of the brain. There lies the power of transformation. Science says the brain originates transformation. In Spiritism, we see it that way, but it's powered by the mind of the Spirit. Anyhow, it's almost the same, because it says that the brain is moldable. It tells us, André Luiz says, the brain is the wonderful nest of the mind. It's like the nest, like the cradle where new life is being born every day. If I change my mind, I change my brain, I change everything else. Let us not forget that we have a spiritual brain in the perispirit. So if I change my mind, I change my spiritual brain. If I'm incarnated, I change my physical brain, I can change my life. We don't know how much transformational capacity we hold, but we do. Not only he says that, but science accommodates it by saying that the brain is built for change. It's fascinating that neuroscience now is investigating more and more how the brain holds the capacity for so much transformation beyond childhood. So much so that something that André Luiz said in 1958 now is being investigated by science. André Luiz said in the book Evolution in Two Worlds that our neurons are born and renovated millions of times in the physical and extra-physical planes. Probably 100th of it, not like half of it, but a little bit of it is already proved by science, and it was first proven in 2002. In 2002, for the first time, one of the leading scientists on this is Fred Gage at the University of California, San Diego. For the first time, he proved that the aging brain allows or accommodates the birth of new neurons, conditioned to the fact that we expose ourselves to new situations. Just going from work to home and that routine, no. We need to expose ourselves to the new all the time. And this new may be reading these hundreds of Spiritist books, because each one of them holds a world of possibilities, or visiting homes of other people, nationalities, whatever it is. The new accommodates itself in new neurons. We don't know how much, science doesn't know yet how much the neurons can be renovated physically. Imagine extra-physically. When he says extra-physically, he's talking about the perispirit. But it makes sense to us, because if I, the spirit, change my mind, really, I change. I am supposed to change. When people come to us and say, oh, I'm glad to see you, I think Daniel said this like some time ago. People come to us and say, oh, I'm glad to see you. You haven't changed at all. That's good. Keep it this way. That's not good. Of course, we should hold our virtues and stay like that, but we better change. Seeing people in 10 years saying, man, you changed. You're different. That's a sign that we are in the right track. If it's a better change, of course. It's beyond physical beauty. It's about the attitude. People come to us and say, you're different. You're transformed. Then we have a sign we're in the right track. But if we stay the same our whole lives, our families, whomever, friends, they see us and they're like, oh, you're the same old person. They like you, but same old person, a whole reincarnation? That's not good. Maybe it's good for them because each time we change, people feel the need to change as well. And sometimes they don't want to change, so we better not change so they don't feel like they have to change. When we buy a new car, people usually like, maybe I should do the same. They have a baby, maybe I should do the same. And the same for other changes, which is good that we're like this in society. But we need to change. It's like soap. Transformation is like soap. You cannot really hold it much because it slips from your hands. When we least see, boom, we're renewed, and again and again and again. Chico Xavier himself. When we read books that talk about Chico Xavier, in his almost 70 years of mediumship, we're going to see accounts of people who knew him at the beginning of his mediumistic abilities. He was afraid. He was hurt by the way people treated him. There was a day somebody came to him and said, did you know the priest at the mass, he said you should go to hell. And at the time, it was a very strong expression. People were very careful about using this. So he went home and he was distraught in his heart. He started crying, and then his mom appeared and said, son, what's happening to you? Why are you crying? Mom, can you believe it? The priest sent me to hell. And with a sense of humor, she turned and said, but you don't have to go to hell. You better stay here. Stay on earth. That's where you have to stay. You have a lot to do here. There was another time when he was still very young in his works. He was also distraught in his heart because somebody came to him and said, you're a beast, Chico Xavier, a beast. And he was a sensitive soul. He went home, he was like crying. And the mom appeared again and said, Chico, what's happening? Well, that guy, he called me names and he said I'm a beast. I'm not a beast. Well, it's good. You should be honored. He called you a beast. Mom, how come? I'm not a beast. Well, beast is a good animal because it works a lot and helps people out by holding a lot of load and carrying to other places. So keep yourself as a beast. Better than that, a spiritist beast. So, at the end of his life, we see a different man. A man that was not easily hurt. A man that was stronger, much wiser, less immature. Chico Xavier himself. He didn't need to go to Harvard to get a degree to be as wise as he was. He didn't need to work for a company like Microsoft to be who he was. But he was helping people so much as they wanted to be helped. And his brain probably, very likely, got a hold of the much transformation he went through in that life. He made mistakes, but he tried to fix them. He had sometimes problems with resentment, like majority of people on earth, but he learned with Emmanuel to resolve it. It's very likely that transformation was really creating a whole new system in his physical body. And we know the physical body is not static as we think. It's very dynamic. It's as much energy as the spiritual body. And it's dynamic. It's changing. It's transforming, especially the brain. And our brain, science already tells, they hold the capacity of being very plastic. We need to learn about this because this is one of the frontiers of neuroscience. And it's one of the things that happens to us we need to know. No matter if we are 90 years old or 9, our brains hold the capacity for this transformation because science says it is a plastic organ. What is a plastic organ? Plastic in the sense that it's moldable. It's like clay. It's possible to change. It's built for change. Our brains. So next time we look at ourselves in the mirror, probably we should look at ourselves picturing our brain and see how much transformation is happening there. And this plasticity, scientists say, and this was mostly summarized by this renowned scientist, Marzinek. And you can watch some of these talks that will summarize to majority of the lay public in the, we would recommend the TED Talks, TED Talks, if you Google it, you see how many people who are great minds and scientists go there and give these talks, especially about the brain. It's important to know about the capacity of our brains to transform ourselves. And there are two main areas that really are critical for transformation. First, the infancy. It's very critical. And science goes hand in hand now with the Spiritist book. The Spiritist book brings in 1857, way before science knew of it, that the first 7 years of life are critical. And then science proves it. And I'm always, this is just a parenthesis, I'm always astounded when people say, I'm not sure about Spiritism, but we have many proofs that whatever Spiritism reveals is ahead of what science finds out and proves. So it's much easier to go this way, learn it, and then understand science than the other way around. Because they reveal things that science still have not proved yet, and likely will in the very near future, if not in a farther future. But when we are young, the brain is setting up. What happens? We are born with thousands of possibilities. Let's say, these are the neurons here. When we showed that picture before, let's go here. These are neurons, okay? This is a slice of the cortex. It was, of course, stained with fluorescence. So, of course, they don't look like yellow. Say, oh, I have a yellow. It's very relative. But in this case, it was stained, so we could see in the fluorescent microscope. So here we have the cortex, and these are cell bodies. And then here we have the neurons in fluorescent yellow and green that were newborn neurons. The condition is to raise new neurons, new connections, we need to expose ourselves to the new. If we do a new something every day, our brain's being boosted to something else. So, when we talk about child, the difference between the child brain and our brain, besides many other elements, is that the children are born with thousands of possibilities. Like this. Let's say they have this and this, they are connected synaptically. That's what we call the synapses, connected. If you expose this child to music, this is just symbolic. Let's say this connection here is about the music pathway. It's going to stay there. It's telling the brain, stay there, we need you to process music. We're symbolically explaining this because there are trillions of neurons there. Let's say this other one is about eating healthy. It's telling the brain, stay there because we need you, and everything else. If this one is about, we're just symbolically saying, about crime, no exposure to crime, what happens? To keep the balance of the brain and the body, it prunes. The connection disappears. It needs that energy for something that you're using. That's why we need to be very careful about what we're exposing our children to. Because all they need to set up the brain is exposure. You don't need, you know how children are. You don't even mean to teach them something, they already learned it. They heard you talking in the kitchen, they were in the living room. How come you learned it? The brain is wired to expose itself to environment. Whatever we do, we expose them to that, boom, the connection stays. All we need to do is exposure. That's the responsibility of parents. TV, very harmful if we don't select very well what it is. Because we're telling the brain, stay there connections, and later on, they are going to have that connection for things that probably are not very good. It's like giving them tools, like giving them a gun, invisible gun, and saying, don't use a gun, but here's a gun. And then later on, when they need it, you're going to use a gun. So, this is the critical part, besides many other elements in infancy. But then in adulthood, which is our case, what happens is that plasticity still exists. We still change. But there, plasticity will be used to refine the setup in the brain. To refine it. It takes a little bit more steps, more than simple exposure, probably a longer exposure. Science still trying to understand what it takes, but the brain's plastic. And it must be for a man like Paul to change so much in his 30s. So I cannot look at myself in the mirror anymore and say, I cannot change. Based on Spiritism and current science, if I say I cannot change, it really means I don't want to change. Because we hold in the brain the power of our transformation. Especially in the human parts that are more related to the frontal part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex. Discernment can really boost a cascade of events. And why we're saying this? Because when we talk about educating ourselves and educating our children, we're talking about working with the elements that we have. So we don't need to make effort to change, in the sense of the brain holds the power that we need. We need to expose ourselves to the new to transform ourselves. The brain already holds the capacity to transform, to transformation, if the mind changes. Same for our children. But we're going to learn today that actually we change beyond words. That's the fascinating part of it. And we learned it especially with Jesus. Because when he came, he knew all about this already. And he knew also that not only the brain was plastic, but it held in itself this amazing capacity of repeating what others do, emulating what others do. It's called the mirror neurons. We all have them. Even animals do. Like, for example, this is like a lab picture. The lab researcher showed the tongue, and soon after, he showed the tongue. It's like, you don't need to say words. It's about educating without words. Because that's how they found out we have mirror neurons. We do have, that's why Jesus said, be careful with the people who you are living your life. Because if you think you're living amongst criminals and you're not criminal, you're deceiving yourself. It's impossible to live amongst people who are some way and not be like that. Because we hold the capacity in our brain to
imitate naturally what others around us are doing. We are social beings. Let us remember, last week Leo was talking about the power of being civilization. We're talking about we being social beings, and we are, in our physical body, especially our brain, has this capacity to externalize sometimes exactly what the people whom we live with do. Exactly the same. That's why Emmanuel said, you live with the wisest to learn from them, and with the ones that know less to teach them, and not the reverse. Because when we observe that people are not too wise and we live amongst them, not observing that we need to hold a certain attitude to inspire them, and we simply follow through the same pathway, we're doing a disservice to ourselves and to them. That's what Jesus did when he came here. He didn't behave like we did. He was different. That's why we crucified him. Because too much. Very soon people are I cannot take it anymore. You're too much for us. Because they wanted him to do the same as everybody else. With all of these elements, when we are teaching our children, we're just like this lab researcher. We show the tongue, they show the tongue. They show the tongue back, we cannot say, how come you're doing this? Where did you learn it? In school? And if we had a camera at home, we would find out they learned it at home. It's possible. We are multipliers today of these teachings of the Spirit. When we need to share with others out there, so they also empower their lives. And our guiding model, Jesus, he knew of it. He knew he didn't need to write books because of this power we hold in our brain, in our mind and in our brain. He knew he didn't need to stay here for 100 years for us to learn. He came publicly, he stayed for 3 years publicly, very exposed to the public. At a time there was no internet, no mass communication, means of mass communication. By his behavior, he changed. Why? Because St. Augustine is going to show us that the Master followed through the recipe he had compiled on chapter 14 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. Chapter 14 is item 9. If we go through and study it, it's a true recipe for us as an educational program that Jesus followed through himself. He did follow through because he was a coherent master. As our guiding model, he was so coherent that he knew if he kept his coherence, people would learn it. Not only that, life. That's something that we need to keep in mind. Jesus, our guiding model, is a guiding model for parents, for educators. And when he taught us, he keeps teaching us to date and to immortality. He knew he didn't come for one life only, or for only that generation. He came for the future generations as well. And it's growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. No matter if people say, oh, the Muslims, by 2000 and something, everything is going to be Muslim. I said, people forget that Muhammad was sent by Jesus as well. All these prophets and masters were sent by Jesus. So we're talking about the same message. It really doesn't matter the name. What matters is that he's teaching us every day. He knew that all he needed to do was be coherent. What is coherent? Something that Mentor Joseph teaches us. Recently, at the Spiritist of Baltimore, he came to deliver a very short message to all of us, which is something, a recipe for good life. He says, strive to achieve coherence. Align thoughts, feelings with actions and words. Coherence will give you greater peace of mind. Coherence leads us to consistency. That's how Jesus was. Because our children look at us and say, you asked me not to be angry, but I see you angry all the time. You asked me not to shout or to scream, but that's what you do all the time. You come home and you start saying, people, take a shower, do this, do that, and then tell them, don't scream, don't shout, but that's what you do, Mom, that's what you do, Dad. So we're not coherent. We're not very congruent, because we say something, but we do something else. We feel something else and think something else. It's like we're not centered. We're not aligned. Jesus was. Because when you look at him, he was and he is in his look, his gestures, his posture, his words, his feelings, his vibration. That's why his message is immortal, because it's a message beyond words. So much so that, André Luiz explains it by saying, virtue is not a mouth that speaks, but a power that radiates, actually, radiates. Virtue is not a mouth that speaks, but a power that radiates. It's in the book Christian Agenda, which is here. André Luiz explains to us that one of the reasons why Jesus impacts on us across time is because of his virtuous attitude beyond words. With our children, you remember sometimes with our parents or grandparents, one look was enough for you, right?
Dear listener, we are here live. I know you're listening to this talk, and the talk is already online at Blog Talk Radio. On this past Thursday, Daniel Santos from Spiritist Networks was able to stream the whole talk, Educating Beyond Words. We're just waiting a while we're fixing some technical problems so we can be here live with you. And Mrs. Elsa Rossi, we made it to do the connection with her in the United Kingdom, and we are very, very happy that she's here. We're not going to do a lot of introduction, but just to say, dear listener, it's all about Spiritist books for children. We're just talking about educating beyond words on this very Thursday through the Spiritist talks here at Blog Talk Radio, Kardec Radio. And we realize that it's vital for us to create materials in a very specific setting to teach kids, to teach youth about spirituality. After all, they are spirit as well. And when they reincarnate, it's a very dangerous journey, very, very dangerous. And it's an opportunity for them to have secure guidance for this very life. We don't want to cry with our children when we realize that we have actually taught them the route of illusions in life. We don't want to go there. How can we prevent it from happening? How can we actually remedy it? But prevention is always the best way. Books for children. And to tell you the truth, books for babies. It doesn't need to be too old. We can start reading to them, for them, when they are in our very bellies, during pregnancy. And when they are born, we create the habit like we do for baby Virginia too. She likes so much books that she's very familiar
like as much as a toy. Flipping the pages of books and recognizing the characters and the stories. And people may claim, do they really understand the stories in themselves? Remember, we're talking about the soul. The soul understands. The physical body cannot express this understanding yet, but it is stored like a good gardener, says St. Augustine. Not only we cut the bad shoots of the tree, like the bad behaviors, trying to educate, refine, polish, but we also stimulate virtues. We're talking about stimulating virtues, good stories, and Mrs. Elsa Rossi has done wonderful work and has been doing wonderful work in that regard. She has been publishing books for kids, and she has a lot to share with us. Thank you so much, Elsa, for your patience and your kindness, your persistence, and for being with us at Kardec Radio. We are very happy that it worked and you're here with us.
Okay. Thank you, Vanessa, for this opportunity, being here with you, sharing these things that I love so much, that they are caring children, writing for them, preparing stories, tales, figures, drawings. That is my field of work, I presume, part of this incarnation.
You know, Elsa, I forgot to mention, for those who are not acquainted with you yet, that you are the chairperson of the British Union of Spiritist Societies, and you are also the founder of Roundtable Publishing in the United Kingdom, and you are also one of the executive directors of the International Spiritist Council, amongst many other things you do. It's a lot of work, Elsa, but we want to hear it. How have you become a Spiritist? I know it's a fascinating story. We want to hear it.
Okay, Vanessa. It's very interesting because everyone has more or less things in connection. If my story probably will be the same as the most of the listeners. So 3 years after I married my husband, of course, that was a Spiritist person. This he was a Italian, so I have my Italian passport. So I didn't know that in the future this passport will be my open door for European tasks. So he was 8th child of a family, a Spiritist family, so 2nd generation. So in my early ages as a child, I started and I saw for many years a spirit that came every night, used to come every night beside my bed. For me, in my innocence or in my ignorance, was Mother Mary, Mother of Jesus. So when I received my rosary with my first communion, I started using my rosary every night sitting in my bed. And this light in a female format used to come to my bedroom. And for me it was so normal. I tried to tell people, but no one believed me at that time. So I stayed quiet and not sharing this information with other people anymore. So I grew up, 15, 16, and when I was more or less 17, this disappeared. Didn't happen anymore. And I met my husband. And I got married 2 years ago, 2 years after I met my husband. That was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
And we have our first child and second child. And before marriage, I asked my husband, I marry you, but I would like to have my children baptized with Father Albano in our church, Catholic Church. He agreed with everything, Vanessa. He knew in advance about my visions of the Virgin Mary. So he understood everything. And why slowly explained for me what was this spirit. Okay? Okay. 3 years later, after marriage, I have my third child. That was Giovanna. And Giovanna, when she was 3 months, she started crying day and night, day and night. No one could stop Giovanna crying. No doctor, no pediatrician, nothing. She was beautiful, feeding properly, not other problem, only crying. But one night, I started to cradle her beside my bed. She was crying, and that I confess I was exhausted. When she was really crying, my husband entered in the bed, and in a minute I started seeing dead people in my bedroom, spirits. And I said to my husband,
Wow.
"Oh my God, he's saying this for me. He's saying this for me. Someone of this house will die." Do you understand? Was frightening me.
Wow.
And my husband, of course, understanding everything, put his hand, lay his hand in my head, and give me a healing or make a prayer or something that calm me down. So I was calm.
We call the passes in the United States, right?
Yes, passing, yes, the healing, right hand. So I accepted immediately going to the Spiritist Center next morning, if it's possible. Of course. He took advantage and took us to a Spiritist Center. But the children were in the car, we round and round. We didn't find the address that someone gave to him. And he said to me, "We will stop the car, fill the car with full petrol, and go home, and tomorrow or another day we come back to find this Spiritist Center." When he stopped the car in a petrol station, garage, I saw in big letters, in a big wall of the building, the back of the building, Spiritist Center No Solar. Okay? I saw, and I said to Luis, "Please, look that, the Spiritist Center is here." And of course, with a smiling in his face, we parked the car, put the children out of the car, and went to the Spiritist Center. This was more or less 4:30 in the afternoon. Of course, the Spiritist Center was closed. A small door was open, and someone in this door was there. That is Grandpa Olimpio. White hair, beautiful face, elderly man, but with full of light in his eyes. And my husband told him about me, and he said, "Please come tonight. I am here now only organizing the library or the bookshop. My husband took the chance and bought all the Kardec books that I didn't allow him to have in our house, all the André Luiz books, everything in Portuguese, of course. So he loaded the car. The boot of the car was full of books, and we went home, smiling, and prepared ourselves to come back the same evening. And we did. But for the first time, I went to a Spiritist Center, No Solar. Okay? Once there, they called me to receive a healing, and I went to a small room with 3 people there. I sat in the chair. They give me passes, healing, and after that, I felt myself so different because I could see and listen things in the room that no one, perhaps, that time was listening. Of course, mediumship already was with me. I was a medium, but I didn't know that. I didn't know things about spiritism or mediumship, Vanessa. That nowadays for me is so clear, so easy, so beautiful. This was my first connection with the Spiritist Center. I listened someone crying and then other people giving talk and comforting the spirit and the explanation and the clarifying about the spirit. So, and after that, we decided, and I accept to come again next the coming Sunday. Children have the classes for children, and we parents studies, and I never stop. We decide together to go to a Spiritist center, and I accept the Spiritist teaching that was in myself, but I couldn't see at that time. This is my first.
Oh, wow. It's fascinating also because, Elsa, you know what it is to not understand Spiritism. So you can understand both sides, the ones that are already in great understanding of Spiritism, the ones that are still puzzled about and have strange ideas about it, and how difficult sometimes it is to embrace it. But I know there is so much to learn, but from being a Spiritist to being in England and being so active to the point that you're the head of the movement there, how did that happen, and what it is that the British Union of Spiritist Societies is doing nowadays? I know there are great things happening. So how was it from becoming a Spiritist to being so active to the level of becoming the head of the movement in the United Kingdom?
Okay. So my husband died 23 years ago. When my husband died, I went for the first time in Spain to participate in the International Congress organized by Spanish Spiritist Federation, and it was in 1992. And I made my first contact with international people for other countries. And at that time, International Spiritist Council was founded in Madrid in October 1992. And I was there. And I was there sitting in a chair waiting for the people come from the room, give the information, what's going on inside, because I couldn't participate because I wasn't. And that time someone that leading Spiritist movement in some country. Okay, after that I had my first contact with Nestor Mazzotti, and my first interview, or the first interview after the International Spiritist Council founded, I did this interview, and I had still now it's so fresh in my mind to remember everything that's happened that time. My love for Spiritist Council was so big, and it still is, that I put in my mind I will dedicate my time for international movement. Because one person from Italy, one person from Colombia, one person from Belgium, it's so small and big in Brazil. The Congress in Spain, a lot of people from Brazil. Okay, Brazil and Spain, and some from other countries, not so much. After that, I started organizing addresses for the other countries and sending to them material that I could have in my hands in Paraná Spiritist Federation, that I used to work there. And I had, of course, many people that were my teachers during all my life, Divaldo Franco, Raul Teixeira, etc. So, in 1994, Janet Danca went to Brazil and was my guest in Curitiba. In 1995, 1996, I came to London. And in 1997, I called Janet Danca to tell her that I was about to go to America, to stay in New York with Norma Guimarães for 1 week or 2 weeks, working there. We stay with Norma. And Janet said, please come to London. I am coming from a hospital. I had an operation, and I need hands here to help me. And I said, Janet, I will be with you. And I decided to change everything and fix everything. And I came to London. And that time, Vanessa, I noticed how how important it is to give a hand for the Spiritism in the UK. And I make my first love with the Spiritism in the UK. I didn't speak English. I'm still, of course, struggle with the English talk. And I decided to come and to learn and to do my best. And from that time, in 1997, in September, I came and I stayed more than 3 months here. And in January 1998, I came to stay forever. Now I am British citizen, and I have my life here. And I put myself at the service of the Spiritism in the UK as a secretary for many, many years. After that, I was elected in 2010 as a president, as a chairperson, and I'm continuing now. Of course, when someone will be able to conduct it, to continue, of course I will do another thing, but always linked with Spiritism and dissemination, okay?
Wow, that's fascinating. We're going to give a short break, Elza, but when we come back, we have more. We want to know more about the publisher you have set up and the very books that are really fascinating and changing lives. We are going to give a break. When we come back, Elza Rossi with us.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Getting to the Light. Spiritist Therapy for Discarnate Spirits is a small book that offers guidance to Spiritist practitioners and Spiritist counselors. Purchase your copy at www.ssbaltimore.org.
Nourish Your Soul with Kardec Radio.
If you missed out on any previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand section of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website at www.kardecradio.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Help prevent suicide by reading and sharing these books with others. 2 great books are available to help in this Kardec Radio campaign to prevent suicide. Suicide, All You Need to Know, by the international Spiritist speaker Richard Simonetti. You can buy your copy at www.roundtablepublishing-uk.com. Also, Memoirs of a Suicide by the medium Yvonne Pereira. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Kardec Radio, live every Saturday at 11 a.m.
Kardec Radio now offers more programs during the week and weekends. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can follow the beautiful program God at Home with Francisca Kranz and the British Spiritist community. They will brighten your days by doing a God at Home meeting wherever you are in the world, while teaching you how to do the same in your own home with your family and friends. Every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will hear incredibly inspirational Spiritist talks directly broadcasted by Spiritist Network. They will be true educational moments to carry out to immortality. Every Saturday, live interviews, Bridging Health and Spiritism with the host Dr. Vanessa Anceloni. You may ask questions to the interviewed guests by calling 858-769-4705. And every Sunday, tune in to Spiritist Awareness at Kardec Radio. You will hear a series of segments on a diversity of Spiritist topics. Kardec will broadcast the Spiritist Moment with Kirsten DeMello, the reading of the Spiritist book by John DeRosa and Steve Shepard, Spiritism in Your Life with Drs. Marco and Joyce Magalhães, Spiritism and the Gospel with Luis Sergio Marotta, Spiritist Education for Youth and Children with Bernadette Leal,
Spiritist Music with James Marotta, Neuroscience and Spiritism with Dr. Vanessa Anceloni, and many more segments coming soon. Enjoy it all and nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we are happily here because we are here enjoying a beautiful conversation with Mrs. Elsa Rossi, who is the chair of the British Union of Spiritist Societies. She is also one of the executive directors of the International Spiritist Council and the founder of a publisher in the United Kingdom, the Spiritist publisher, Round Table Publishing. You've heard about many of these books here at Kardec Radio, and today we are dedicating to the books for children, especially the ones that were authored by Elsa Rossi. She's here with us, delighting our hearts with her passion for what she does, with her love about Spiritism and her dedication. Elsa, it's so fascinating. You know, it's like an endless work, and you're not afraid of committing yourself to higher and higher degrees to the point that you publish a Spiritist publisher, Roundtable Publishing. So what made you decide to take this route of creating Roundtable Publishing?
Vanessa, you know how International Spiritist Council struggles to put the books to the light, Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, André Luiz, etc., in the Kardec books in several languages. The most difficult language to launch always is in English. We know why, because in English you can achieve all countries, because it's an international language, so it is more difficult. So I decided to install this publisher for some books that already were written here for British mediums from many years ago that didn't contact Chico Xavier, didn't know about Kardec. And some books, they are so marvelous. We have the shadows lifted of that from the death. This book is amazing. It looks like that you are reading No Solar as a continuation. It's amazing. The medium was Henry Burbage. And so this caught my attention, and we decided to continue with Chico Xavier, the medium of the century, written by Guy Leon Playfair, and Science and Spirit, from Hernani Guimarães Andrade, compiled by Guy Leon Playfair. We have the book, The Blue Island. William Stead is the spirit that dictated this book after the Titanic. Okay, the problem with the Titanic thing. And we have suicide that you already mentioned in the program. All that you need to know, causes and consequences. That was a translation by a British person, Stephen. And these books are published by Roundtable, and many more taught in life by Chico Xavier. And I have just one book for children publishing here in English, because I donate all the books for charity institutions, Vanessa, in Paraguay, in Germany, in Spain, in Brazil. This helping people, and also you can have to put the light above the table, not under the table. So it is my passion, book for children. Has many information as my first teddy bear. This book, this small book, my first teddy bear, is a consolation for many children and for incredible, but for adults as well. And I have two things to tell you about this book, to tell for our listeners, the people that are listening. My sister is a doctor in Stockholm. She works with doctors from legs, people with diabetes, etc., etc. So she's taking care of legs. And one client came there and told to my sister that her daughter, 3 years old, was crying day and night because her husband passed away. And my sister, without mentioning Spiritism for the client, okay, gave to this lady this little book, My First Teddy Bear, and said to this lady, read the tale for your daughter. Perhaps this can help. And she took the book and read the story and showed the pictures for the little one. Incredible, Vanessa. The little one stopped crying. And since she started to tell the story, the small girl, the little girl, is left every night with the book in her chest, holding the book in her chest. And a month later, the mother came to the clinic again and told it to my sister, and thanked my sister a lot because the book helped the little one starting eating again, sleeping again, and stopped crying. That made me so happy, and I pray to God, and I think I am thankful so much for all the benefactors that helped me in such a way, inspired me to do this kind of book. And a person from the English book, a person in Germany read the book. A man with more or less 45 years old. He read the book and he wrote immediately to me and asked to translate into German language. I said, why? And he told me that this book explained things since he was 4 years old child. If she read this book when she was a child, when his father passed away, probably was helping a lot him. So he decided to do this for other little ones in Germany. Can you believe that?
That's amazing, Elsa. It's really amazing. And I think what is the most important part of it, it's the compassion, I think, overall. Because many people experience this and they don't take action. And you actually took action to reach out to those children who don't know what to do with those feelings. You know, we teach often about feelings, and I think this book can, the books in general you're writing, they can teach children also about how to handle how they're feeling about specific situations so they can be at ease. But there is a book, Elsa, we would like to talk with you, one of the most recent ones about the how to pray, right? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about this? Because I found it so special. Many people have difficulties, adults themselves, on how to pray. I can imagine children. And usually parents don't teach children to pray. And then when they are adults, they are also puzzled. And when events in life happen, they become so mad and upset, and they can really derail in life. So it can be really preventative, teaching children to pray. But your book is very comprehensive because it shows prayers for different situations. Can you tell us about the book and how you put it together, please?
Oh, yes, Vanessa. You know that I have 3 children and 7 grandchildren. I started writing a story when my children were small ones, okay? Preventing them to fighting, to lie, to do things against the moral situation. Mm-hmm. The education was with the books. So they helped to drawing the books. So we did the books by hand. Everything was done together. So they grow up reading the stories that I was writing to them. So when my first grandchild, Talis, came, when he was more or less 4, 5, 6 years old, I started helping him to do prayer. to pray to God, to pray to the sun, to pray for a better day, to pray for something that was wrong with him. And slowly, every day, one small prayer. For example, prayer for my grandmother's neighbor. Once I took by chance here now. Dear Jesus, my grandmother told me that we should pray for those who are sick. The grandmother was me. I heard my grandma say that her neighbor was in hospital. I want to ask my friend Jesus to help her to get better and not to feel pain and to get well soon so she can go home. Thank you, dear Jesus, for helping my grandmother's neighbor get well again. And this, and for the little pussycat, for the little dog that he died or invest. So this little book, really, there are more than 13 prayers and the beautiful drawings that the children, even if they don't read in alphabetical moment now, they can see the stories and you can read for them. This is listen one by day, by night, by evening, wherever, for the moment that we needed to pray with the children so they can really follow you and starting doing the prayer for themselves with their voice, their mind, the way that the children normally does the prayer when they are keen to do. For example, the prayer to my guardian angel. My dear guardian angel, I am very happy because I know that you protect me day and night. When I feel sad, I think of you and I feel happier. When I am home alone, I feel your presence and have no fear. I know you were sent by God to take care of me and to protect me. Thank you so much, my guardian angel. When you listen to this in a voice of a child, you make me almost cry because it's so beautiful, Vanessa.
It is.
My passion as well.
Anna, it is beautiful and it's life-saving because, Elsa, you have 7, you have kids, you had children yourself, and you have grandkids, and you have the children of friends in your life. And when we get to pre-teenage years or teenage years, that's when life becomes very challenging. And if they don't have a foundation so solid, like with prayers and understanding of God and this connection with God, as St. Augustine said, the mission of parents is to connect their children to God, period. But if we don't do this, how are they going to survive the challenges of this life, right?
It's true.
And prayer can be life-saving. I mean, this book is so special. Can you tell us more about other books that are, published or coming up as well?
Yes, Vanessa, because my mind is only for spiritual education for children. Okay? Each book has a special message, not to hurt animals, how to take care of friends. So each one of these books that are free on the internet, because everything on the internet, when it's possible to publish, we can publish. Otherwise, can stay on the internet for everyone. There are books as well for teenagers, for children with 10, 11, 13 years old, that sometimes they see spirits, so they don't know how to deal with this. For example, Alain, the Little Ghost, is still available on the internet for free. This is a very nice story for teenagers that need to know a little bit about the spiritual side. The black crow, and the fox with the golden fur as well is a special one. The special one as well for children with 10, 11 years old. And the good lizard is for 4 years old, the small one. There are many books available on the internet. When it's possible, of course, we can publish. We have a lagartixa boazinha that's in Portuguese to help children socialize. We have in English as well, but not published yet. The a small book was published about Lar Fabiano de Cristo. This also helps children that they are so shy or they want to make friends, but they don't know how to do that. If reading this story, they can really approach the reality in their own life. You can't force them to do things, but when they are reading or when you read for them, you are helping them to think about. Because as you said when started the program, first of all, they are souls, and souls can listen, can understand.
You're so right, Elsa. We need to give one last break. When we come back, we have a few questions for you from listeners, okay?
Okay, my dear.
We will return to our program after these messages. Want to learn more about the ins and outs of mediumship? The book In the Realms of Mediumship by the spirit doctor Andre Luiz through the medium Chico Xavier analyzes the various aspects of mediumistic communication and mediumship. He also praises the efforts of mediums who are faithful to the spiritual mandate they received before they reincarnated, warning them about the risks of badly practiced exchanges between the two worlds. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
The Spiritist magazine is a trimestral digital periodical that publishes the latest news on the Spiritist thought and the movement in the USA and worldwide at www.spiritistmagazine.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Study Spiritism online at eSpiritism. eSpiritism is an online tool to promote the study and practice of Spiritism while contributing to the preparation of Spiritist practitioners. For full access to courses, go to www.e-spiritism.org.
If you missed out on any previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand section of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website at www.kardecradio.com.
Emmanuel's Novels. The reputable mentor, Emmanuel, wrote a 5-book series of Spiritist novels that can truly transform your life. Starting with 2,000 Years Ago, Emmanuel delights our minds with the true account of characters that are so similar to each of us. Discover yourself in Emmanuel's novels and live better. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com. And now we return to our program.
We are here with Mrs. Elsa Rossi, who is the chair of the British Union of Spiritist Society, one of the executive directors of the International Spiritist Council, and also the founder of Roundtable Publishing. Amongst many other things, she's also the author of books, especially books for children. Fascinating. Elsa, we're so delighted with the work and the devotion and the passion, but people are asking us, where can they easily find the books? We would say at Roundtable Publishing, right, at the website?
Yes, you can find it in Amazon as well.
Oh, it's in Amazon.com.
Yes, Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk. I think Amazon.com as well, Vanessa. Amazon.com as well, yes.
Okay, and Roundtable Publishing?
Exactly. The website, Roundtable Publishing, I forgot my website.
Is it roundtablepublishing.org?
No, not .org, .uk.
Okay.
In a minute, I will take for you, okay?
Okay. Roundtable Publishing. And another question from another listener is, how do you actually dedicate yourself to Spiritism and with so much devotion? How do you manage your time? What is the secret?
Vanessa, when you need something to be done, you always call the person that has much work, full agenda, that you will make sure that the thing will be done. Because the ones I dedicate myself, because I have this is opportunity in my life. My husband died 23 years ago. My children, of course, got married. They live their homes and houses. So I can live free to dedicate this time, because I don't use my time for other things. People said, you have to stay every day or walk in the park or etc., doing things for you because you have to change. I change my time doing from one thing to another. That is great, and I like so much. I don't stress myself. We have groups, Spiritist groups that we visit. We prepare things for the groups. We organize each 2 years the Medical Spiritist Congress. That is great. We organize talks, many talks in the UK. So this takes all my time. And also the Spiritist Council, we take care of Facebook. That we manage the time. I always say when people need something from me, okay, I have a spare time from midnight to 6 in the morning. And of course, Vanessa, when you dedicate your time for Spiritism or for any religion, but you put your passion, your heart with love, and of course, common sense, good sense, you really can do things in a better way. Don't hurt yourself. You don't need to hurt yourself to do things. But everything, the right time, with the certain moment, we can do everything. We can.
Yes, you're so right. And this year we're celebrating 150 years of the Gospel according to Spiritism. And also the Kardec Radio has this year-long campaign asking people about their favorite passages from this very book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. What is your favorite passage? I know it's hard because the whole book is fascinating, but do you have a specific one you'd like to share with us?
Yes, the Parable of Samaritan.
Oh, wow. Why?
Yes. I tell you why, Vanessa. I tell you why. This passage is so beautiful. You know the passage. We tell about the passage. We talk about the passage in our talks, when we visit groups, etc. But I only understood properly this passage through the talk about that Haroldo Dutra gave to us. Because he said things that was good in my mind. Of course, it's good. But the way that he explained to me make me put this parable above everything, so I can really be a charitable person. Without asking recompense, without asking things, without judgment, by doing my best for others. That is matter. The others I doing towards me. Important, and my responsibility is to do for others the best thing that I can do, and I expect the God will give to me. Okay? The charity.
Amazing. Charity. Exactly, charity. It's everything.
Yeah, our pain, yeah?
Amazing, Elsa. Oh, you know, you have so much to share with us, and what is most fascinating for us here today is your, heartfelt excitement about devoting yourself to the cause of Spiritism. It's really moving to us, and we wish that people really were like you. The world would be much better off. Elsa, there is so much to say. We just found out that the Roundtable Publishing, as you said, is roundtablepublishing/uk.com, and we'd like to recommend people to go there. There are many books, amongst them the ones we just mentioned, Learning How to Pray, and my First Teddy Bear, amongst many others from Chico Xavier himself, like the one recently released, Thought and Life by Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier, right?
It's an amazing book.
It's an amazing book.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book. Elsa, we hope to have you more often here at Kardec Radio, but for now, what would you like to share with the listeners as your final comments today?
I can, if I may to do that, I would like to say for mothers, fathers, parents, relatives, grandfather, etc., that please pay attention to your children. Look at them as a beautiful flower. Don't forget to give to them the education. The instructions come from the schools, but education is only among family. The adult can pass to the children. Love them. Be patient. Calm down your anger. Don't hurt your children. One day they will take care of you. They will return to you everything that you are giving to them. The children are our future. We can put our future in children's hands, because one day they will be the adults that will take care of the world. If you want the world to be a better path, a better place to live, if not for us now, in the future, maybe again we return, reincarnation is here for that. So we can be our children's children, we can be our children's grandchildren. So preparing ourselves for the future. Give to our children our love, as we have to love one another in our society. So it's so easy to put in practice. It's so easy to hold our horses. It's so easy to link with the benefactors. Every one of us, spiritists, non-spiritists, we have spiritual benefactors around us, helping us, inspiring us. So in our way, our task is really in this world to help our children to flourish towards light.
Wonderful, Elsa. Thank you so much, and thank you especially for your patience with our technical problems here, and for helping us, persistently getting to the program today. Thank you so very much, and we really hope you can be more often here with us. Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Vanessa. Thank you.
So, dear listener, we hope this work that Elsa Rossi is leading really touched your heart, especially, as she says, for parents, educators of children and youth. Let us remember, dear listener, when God grants us an opportunity to tutor a life as a parent, as an educator, God is trusting us that we are really focusing on the best we can do. We have no right to spoil a life with our whims, with our vices. When we educate our children, we're educating ourselves, because we are progressing spirits. God is never asking us to be perfect parents, perfect educators, but He's asking us to really do our best in regards to love. And as St. Augustine said in chapter 14, item 9 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, which is one of my favorite passages, it says, the mission of parents is to connect their children to God. That's it. And people are, really? Is that it? Meaning everything. And it doesn't mean like, oh, I believe in God. It means really leading a life towards fulfilling God's will. And our children will be really, really aligned, and they will not derail. Well, dear listener, this is it for today. Thank you also for waiting for us while we're fixing our problems here. And we're very happy that Blog Talk Radio was also able, through Cynthia, to help us fix this problem as well. Now we're going to end up the program in gratitude. Let us pray for gratitude, and also for the children around the world. Mother, Father, God, thank you so much for life, for giving us hundreds of possibilities, and especially today, for helping us fulfill our duties according to your will. Thank you so much for this message of spirituality for children, for giving Mrs. Rossi the strength, the intelligence, the heartfelt devotion to this cause which is vital, giving foundation to families, giving strength and direction to children. Please give us all, always, an opportunity to be useful. And bless Kardec Radio for the opportunity we all have to exchange, to make new friends, to make connections, and to find one another, knowing that we are destined to love one another as we love you. Thank you for the coming of Jesus and the promised consoler in Spiritism as a message that frees us from our ignorance and empower us to really achieve higher levels in our humanity. May our children around the world feel these shower blessings as much as their parents and educators, and so be it. Dear listener, we are feeling so much joy of a work well done, a work here meaning being with you, being with Elsa Rossi, and knowing that the world is really getting better because people are committed. There are many people like Elsa Rossi committed for these changes. What's going to happen in a week from today? We're going to talk about 25 years of Spiritist psychology. Joana de Angelis, the experimenter of the renowned medium and speaker Divaldo Franco, published her books on Spiritist psychology 25 years ago. And she has been publishing still. And these books are celebrated of this first publishing together with the Gospel According to Spiritism. What does that mean? Well, let's wait on and see, because we're also going to break down for you what happened in Brazil in mid-August, in Divaldo Franco's land in Bahia, when he was organizing an event on it, which we participated. We were really delighted, and there's much to share with you. Be with us next week. By the way, tomorrow there is Spiritist Awareness with several hosts around the world at 8 p.m. And on Wednesday, you can listen about Nosso Lar, the book by André Luiz, through Chico Xavier, the medium. We're reading the book and explaining. And who's doing this? Franziska Kranz, directly from Germany, with Mackenzie Mello, directly from the United States. And on Thursday, Daniel Santos, the director of the Spiritist Network, is sharing with you one other interesting talk on Spiritism from speakers around the world here, Kardec Radio. We are here to nourish your soul. In the meantime, dear listener, keep feeling the blessings of God always. Many, many blessings.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.